Who or what is Steve? Believe it or not, you're looking at him. But as for what the purple and white light is, well, researchers just don't know. However, a new study by scientists at the University of Calgary has determined it is not the northern lights.
When we see the aurora, we see particles raining down into the Earth's upper atmosphere, and a satellite that will pass right by this precipitation will measure all these particles. But for Steve, what we see is that when the satellite crosses Steve, these particles are not present.
But pinning down exactly what it is will be more difficult.
So we're still trying to put all the pieces together. The main idea right now is the ionosphere is creating the glow that we're observing.
And spotting Steve is incredibly rare.
So we have another paper that is under review right now, and we know that when Steve is visible, at higher latitudes, we see that the aurora is very active. So the aurora might be creating a precondition in the ionosphere for Steve to appear.
That's the science behind Steve, but what about the real hard-hitting questions like, why name it Steve? Well, it turns out that's actually its second name. Its first name was Proton Arc, but it turns out there aren't any protons in it.
So they use a Canadian cartoon movie called Over the Hedge, where the animals are scared of what they know. They hear but they don't know. So they call it Steve.
The name Steve is actually spot on.
And after seeing the satellite, the first satellite observation crossing the structure, they realized that according to the characteristics, it could be converted into a backronym that is now Strong Thermal Emission Velocity Enhancement. So it's Steve with capital letters.
And there are some very tongue-in-cheek jokes going around the scientific community about what the phenomenon is.
My favorite explanation is that Steve is actually a Russian satellite going close to the US to attack them. So I don't know.
In Calgary, Jonathan Muma, City News.